People, people, hi, it's Crisis, and if you know what I'm about to say, be my guest and say it with me. Purity is what's best for mankind. We want more of it, more of it, more of it, so we can galore in it. Purge all of the bad, purge all of the horrible, purge all of the wrong. That is our song, from one heart to the next, for all of mankind. Addressing the entirety of Purge is an honor he never takes for granted. From the first day he put on the junior officer uniform to the day he was awarded a head uniform, Crisis has been one of the mightiest Purge agents to grace the stars, completely for the sake of purity galore. So I got everybody here today to talk about Crisis and his characterization sheet. And I want to pepper it first by saying that this character is based off of somebody that I was in the army with, and he came to Fort Stupid in a group that graduated after my group in basic training. Anthony Vernon is a very great man. He's always been this stupendously mighty, positive, motivating force in everybody's life that he has touched. I don't think he has ever done anybody wrong intentionally or by mistake. And he already has a character based off of him in the Trustone era. In story number, I think 4 or 6, whichever number is Deadly Arts, because I have so many stories I can't even keep them in track sometimes. So don't hold it against me. And in that character in Deadly Arts, he's a lawyer named Ant-Man, and that was his nickname growing up. And when I was doing the Crimson Collective and choosing everybody that is my favorite man around the world, you can see that he's right next to me. So, yeah, the favoritism is very much alive with him. But moving right along, Crisis, birth name Angus Vernon, superpower life, fighting techniques Krav Maga and Shika. Weapon of choice is a Purge's particle cannon. He's of lawful good nature, 35 years old, 5'11" in height, 220 in weight, African Inuit human. He was born in Jacksonville, Florida, USA, on Earth Zero of the Milky Way galaxy. Occupation is a head class agent of Purge. Prior one-man army type. And nowadays he's the head commander, which is the first of the 25. And that meaning he is overall the acting president of operations for Purge. There's 25 of them that call the shots, and it'll be explained later, but I just want to say right now, he did a lot to get that position, and he deserved that position. And continuing on, his birthday is November the 9th, Scorpio, A positive blood, homosexual, overall religion is good orderly direction, and Purge united. His secret is while traveling through faster than light, which is an option of flying spaceships, making the spaceships move faster than light, which is something that was taken from the Dark Matter TV show. Crisis likes to use a lot of his energy to create a shooting star effect. While zipping across the universe, he will sit in a super power chamber of a spaceship and power it up immensely. This creates a pink-like powerful light around the faster-than-light barrier, making the ship appear as if it's the size of the moon. Because the power is so pink and bright, it looks like a comet that starts, then stops as soon as it drops out of faster-than-light. He'll do this once a month, every month, and hasn't skipped a month since he was 31 years of age. He looks like, physical description, if I can segue into it, right? Black hair, low cuts, finger waves, full low cut beard. Eye color is white. Body type is both wrestler type middleweight, which means I probably have to change his weight because he has to be he looks a lot more denser than 220 pounds, so I need to go correct it. Skin tone is chocolate. Physical condition is fit like a Titan and gladiator, equally built in strength and speed. Marks, scars, and tattoos. Because life as a superpower can plastic surgery anything away, his body shows none of the scars he obviously got over video footage, and no tattoos. Clothing. Rarely catching him out of uniform is wild, but he keeps it gentlemanly and paradise-like whenever he's out of it. The only time he enters cold regions is when he's in uniform. With him being a head of Purge, he has all of his dress uniforms in white to match his class. His favorite article of clothing is his uniforms. Very proud of keeping Purge together while mankind lives on. His chest emblem holds the shape of the Gandamore spaceship headquarters and glows in neon pink. And you'll find out what Gandamore's spaceship looks like later. Personality. His likes, all of Purge. Bazooka Flow, his husband. Omniverse. Blur. Vibros. Diveric. Allure. Lollipop. Crunch. The Superhero Guild. Technology. A Good Fight. Might. The Oopsies Containment Facility. Flowers. And healing people. His dislikes are anything on the wrong side of the justice system. Fears, none really. He's had so many highs, he will continue to risk himself to save people. Hobbies, might lifting, might flying, power training, basking, if I could talk right, basking in sunlight, listening to Bazooka Flow, mowing down enemies with heroes, trying to get them combos in, commanding orderly art, push-up contest, spinning in zero gravity, and partying. So, the spinning in zero gravity will be explained later too. Hopefully you'll catch it. Goals to carry Purge United until his dying breath. Occupation, head class. Thought I already talked about that. But the whole actual title of his job is the lead commander of the Purge Combined Supernatural Operations Coalition. His favorite food is ambrosia. Least favorite food is none really. Most prized possession, the Time Doctor. So I need to go back and correct this, but it's not the Time Doctor per se. It's what she gave to him at one point, and this is the explanation of it. There's a woman that goes by this AKA, but her real name is Monica Ladello, a Moroccan in descent immortal who often blesses people with time capsules that capture situations in their entirety from multiple viewpoints. Being a videographer with time as a superpower and immortality allows her to witness any of the giant epilogues she desires. It's her favorite thing to do. So in love with super beings that she always follows the most high octane, who's up next, hero, neutralite, or villain. When Crisis was 26 years old, he was involved in another power play by pirates to dismantle the current rank structure of Purge, by specifically turning Purge agents against their own model by using manipulative scenarios to have the entirety of mankind question a lot of their movements lately, even though people generally don't see Purge, per their movements of making sure super beingness isn't experienced a lot. It's been hundreds of years since the public had knowledge of everyone in Purge, but Camera Khan put all their business out there because he's that powerful as a cyber wielder. Because of this whole ordeal, giant super being battles kept happening all across the planets in space colonies. Because revenge was wrongfully on millions of minds and somebody had to pay. Purge lost 4 of their head ranks, hundreds of their Hylian ranks, and too many thousands of generals. Camera Khan was responsible for so many deaths and never apologized for it. Over 6 months, the galaxies and dimensions were in disarray as Camera Khan ensured that Purge took the necessary downgrade since they couldn't help in locating his kidnapped daughter. Crisis proved that Cameron was the man behind getting Purge taken down several notches before ultimately finding him, then starting the brawl. In the end of this epilogue of trying to save the super being, clean up militia, Crisis and Cameron had one of the most intense brawls of their lives as they fucked up the entire sky, fighting on planet Vaguard of Solar System 7. The sky turned yellow and pink per to both of their powers. The Time Doctor recorded the entire 8-hour brawl that delivered that footage 2 them weeks after, even though neither of them won that superpower battle because of a magical storm. Cameron caused as much damage as he thought he should, then went to his off-the-radar ways prior to causing 6 months of super being drama that the entirety of mankind witnessed. Crisis watches that battle on a loop as much as possible, totaling his view count to around 267 plays. Just studying the vile combatant ways of Cameron helps him with building confidence with taking down one of the top 1,000 villains of this day and age. Vernacular, Anthony Vernon. Aptitude, IQ equals 200, equally book smart and street smart. I did not type out the way that his mind works, but you'll be able to piece it together. Psychological condition, completely sane nowadays with psychic friends. His natural warpath rages were finally harnessed so that good guys could get him to calm down whenever a situation is over. Finding a way to do this saved his career as a Purge agent, but also saved the lives of millions of people, inadvertently proving that every decision he makes is to go with the laws of Purge. And the warpath rages will be explained later, but this situation, the warpath rages will turn him basically into a berserker where he can't communicate with anybody even though he understands everything that goes around, and he always wants to fight. When the poor warpath rages start up, if I could talk right, character behavior: cool, satisfied, commanding, strategic, dexterous, and suave. Relationships: a crystallis symbiote. This species of symbiote acts like humans. It was born with life as a superpower and tends to reflect pink powers when it's by itself. The crystallis symbiotes are all non-detrimental but will combine with a human if they get close enough. They aren't very fast, but if any of their flesh touches a human, it will not disconnect because of the warmth. Warmth is the only thing they feel, and because humans have a signature mammal of a heat signature, they cling for dear life to it, even if it's just a fingertip, if I could talk right. These types of symbiotes are only detrimental if superpowers do not match, but in Crisis' case, he got extremely lucky. There was no need to scientifically disconnect the symbiote from him because it made him more powerful, loads more powerful than what he already was, all because of whispers of it for hours finally got to his eardrums that day. Struck by a siren, he was, as it kept luring him to where it was in the site he was stationed at. Let me take a breath. Crisis acquired his symbiote partner when he was 20 years of age. Bazooka Flo, he's Crisis' husband. They go about 7 years back. 7 long years back. 7 fucking long years of ridiculously being ultimate class agents of Purge. Never had the chance to work with each other, let alone meet, until that fateful day 7 years ago. This was back when Crisis was a one-man army. Many years after acquiring his symbiote, Crisis was paired with Bazooka Flo for the first time for an annihilation mission best suited for those two, because Bazooka Flo's timing with moving, even when comms are down, is downright uncanny. All Crisis needed was a silent partner who could recognize threats even while looking through a scope. That Bazooka Flo did, until they were both ousted by a spy. They had to go on a move, but Bazooka Flo had to abandon his post in order to stay alive and to keep Crisis alive. Both were considered high assets, and the only way they could survive is if both were handing out knuckle sandwiches together. Long story short, that more than huge in time battle developed Bazooka Flo's signature close-range fighting style of creating combat bazookas for such situations, as well as Crisis developing his babality abilities. He turned about 17 men into infants when him and Bazooka Flow were finally cornered, but somehow didn't fountain of youth Bazooka Flow. When they looked into each other's eyes, when Crisis finally turned back to his normal colors versus being solid pink, there was the moment the two of them began falling for each other. Crisis' promotion as the youngest general at that time didn't affect their relationship either. Both vowed to uphold Purge's laws of superheroism around the galaxies. Andracos. The day that Crisis met both Andracos and Crunch was when he noticed Andracos. He was instantly consumed by his darkness to the point Andracos was hypnotic to him from then on. Although the both of them had never said anything to each other, they were always happy to see each other from then on out with very lengthy hugs. Even till this day, regardless of his marriage to Bazooka Flow, he would give Andracos a very long pH rebalancing hug, emphasis on very to the 10th power. Cameracon. These two met on a battlefield when they were 26, during one of the most deplorable acts of humanity as Cameracon did what he had to do to spread havoc across the galaxies. His daughter was kidnapped years ago and not any law enforcement agency could help him out, nor anyone in Edgemere. As he steady bellowed hate, he was preparing ways to put all of the important people of Purge on blast, as well as intergalactic forces and general law enforcement. Doing this provoked plenty of criminals, as well as regular civilians, to act on their revenge against certain individuals. A lot of heroes died in this ordeal. When Crisis finally pinpointed which villain gave the bad pirates of outer space all of their ammunition, he went to confront Cameracon. During that 8-hour brawl, they fought mad hard and conversed every so often to why Cameracon felt the need to multiply eye for an eye by 30 million. No matter what Cameracon said, Crisis couldn't use any of his healing abilities to calm Cameracon's emotional state from losing his daughter, inadvertently becoming arch nemesis of each other when neither two could off each other in the brawl. Since then, these two have fought on a battlefield a total of 11 times. Lastly, during their brawl, they figured out that each other had the blessing from the red moon of Edgemere. Because of how much they despised each other without even knowing each other, their blessings unlocked a new ability in the form of warpaths. When they harnessed the true power of the red moon, the entire sky started to be filled with their energy and the colors of pink and yellow. It's one of the views of the battlefield that a lot of people still like to see, whether it's digitally over the internet or put in specific museums around the galaxies. Social and other pressure problems. None. Beliefs and morals. The laws of Purge or status quo. Positive characteristics. Always on time, always with heels, always with the kills. Keeps a very good vibe about him, as if he just had the best breakfast on the planet, and the cup of coffee will be the end of it. Negative characteristics. During warpath rages, he cannot communicate, provoking a berserker-like rage that only well-known people can handle. In that fit of rage, he only responds to two hands being held up to show no weapons, with the left hand holding the index finger down and the right hand holding the ring and pinky fingers down. He will stop, fully stop, and keep looking at the hands. Whoever has his attention will raise their hands and slide them down slowly until his eyes meets theirs. That will break the warpath rages. That command was developed by Sisol nearly a decade back when the fits of rage began. Background and current information. Origin, Vernon made the cut. Birthplace, Jackson, Florida, USA. Family, Caesarea Nora Tumbe. Mother, 78 years of age. Monto Bishop Vernon. Father, 71 years of age. History. His mother was wrong for doing him like that, but also right at the same time. Crisis was adopted by this goddess by the name of Mitheta Comprehensi. Took in Crisis because his parents were commanded to go on a few-year expedition to the sectors that are below the humanoid sphere of the universe. Mitheta had a reputation for being a too good of a power seeker, to ensure that the new child she had under her care would be invulnerable from impact if any of her enemies saw her. She blessed Crisis with the Orb of Life, a ceremonial gem from the red moon of Edgemere. Because Crisis was only a half-year old when his parents decided not to take him on a space expedition, he was given way too much power. The laws of the Red Moon grant protection if you use any of its artifacts on a vessel. This inadvertently gave Crisis the power the superhero guild would grow to love much later in life. Crisis was blessed with invulnerability for the 3 years his parents would be gone. Happily went back to his parents' graces when they returned to Earth Zero. Although, for the rest of his life, he would have the power of the Red Moon coursing through him, granting him level 4 super beingness when he comes into his powers. All of his might, up until then, was the form of super strength, super defenses, super speed, flight, and super endurance. Oddly, he never took advantage of that or abused it until he got his full life powers. With him being raised with love and having Metheta still in his life, Caesarea and Monto did their scientific thing to ensure his ether system stayed healthy. Crisis absorbed all of the knowledge he ever needed from his parents that carried over to him, always moving careful throughout life. He gave up being a normal kid to the point he was already in Purge's junior league, where he attended the academy on Earth Zero and graduated right into junior officer position when he was done with high school. If he hadn't done it, his youth would have ended up on a very boring note. He was simply deemed as a treasure for Purge to develop because he was out there lifting rubble, reforming buildings with magicians and imagination wielders, on top of always being willing to heal individuals, even villains. Taking care of mission details had him elevating through the ranks quite quickly. On top of attending college to begin his junior to a PhD in aerology, kept this busy bee out of trouble. That was merely his 18th year in life, but it wasn't until he met Crunch and Dracos when he would grow into his core personality of being the true super being his parents wanted him to be. Shortly after meeting them, there was a celebration on Crunch's spaceship a few months later. For intensive purposes of not digressing too much, a lot of their close friends attended that party, where Crunch wanted everyone there to be the most ultimate super beings history will ever record. Crunch gave a speech that day, and in the middle of outer space, in between galaxies. Wait a second. So, that party was actually over a few days. I need to go back and correct that one too. Crisis gave a speech on one of the days in the middle of outer space, in between galaxies, surrounded by stars. He looked at nearly 70 people he would inadvertently weave in and out of reality with to save as many people as possible. He'll never forget how when everyone was dancing to a spaceship full of bass on the deck where Crunch's force field was portraying auroras, how the red moon of Edgemere appeared in the sky and he was the only one that saw it. It spoke to him, telling him that his family is complete and he should cherish them for the remainder of his life. He wasn't dancing, he was just staring up at it, then started staring at everyone around him dancing in the stillness of joy. Crisis felt everyone's heartbeat around him, then heard the heartbeat of the red moon. He has never admitted where his might comes from, but always pays homage to the red moon of Edgemere every time he walks away from the battlefield. Granted, all of that sounds extremely lucky, but Crisis is not a fool. Instead of always reveling in his power, he forced his parents to figure out ways so he can train during bouts of not so much might, to ensure he is prepared just in case he comes across scenarios where he loses his might. He has spent great amounts of time training in anti-super being material just to ensure he can throw the same accurate punches, kicks, and headbutts he'd throw in normal situations. Then forcing his parents to figure out ways to break his bones, suffocate him, only rely on his sense of hearing, and a plethora of other things that had him not interacting with youth. He was always in and out of hyperbolic training chambers since he was a kid. He figured that since he's so mighty, he should be a super being. The grace of the red moon helped his little unformed mental state from behaving like a kid in most instances, so he never punches a little kid across a playground, punch a wall down, or cause a crater. He grew up with his own inner monologue and a voice he always deemed as the red moon's before he could give it a title. A peaceful, deep voice telling him to stop and keeping him from doing things. Crisis was never the bully or bullied, but never played sports or joined clubs in the real world because of his might, making him feel a little lonely and missing out on things until the day he went to their party on Crunch's spaceship. Since then, he has become the coolest superhero to be around on and off the battlefield with. Home. The Gandamors is the headquarters spaceship of Purge, named after the man who founded Purge, Gesdo Gandamors. was a solid hero of his times who lived a very militant life of always trying to figure out what was the most righteous thing to do and abiding by keeping the peace. Gesto had a lover by the name of Purity Galore, a lovely intergalactic diplomat who never had a scandal that kept her from trying to prolong peace, nutrients, education, and might for all. She was a vibrant young thing who did nothing but live a lovely life of pleasure and business. Regardless of anyone trying to bring her down because she enjoyed the whole is life mantra, she still had foundations on making sure what her political stance was went hand in hand with pleasure. Purity felt like all humans should have access to everything, and there needs to be entities that protect it. Gesto was all for that as he power hunted to the maximum level to try to build his own militia. By the time year 3001 showed up, Purge was created out of Purity Galore's name in order to protect humans that simply want to be a contributing member of society and allow themselves the simple pleasure of living when they aren't helping the world go round. The spaceship is as big as the moon and is shaped like a giant heart with a gigantic ring of outward protruding spikes around it. It's in the color of crimson metallic metal and is usually flying around the outskirts of the Milky Way. Over the many millennia, the inner workings have been remodeled, mostly around the superbeing chambers so teleporters can help it travel faster. Crisis has lived in and out of the headquarters since he joined Purge, always on the ship when he's not on a specific detail. Nowadays, with him being the head, he can have a room in any quadrant of the spaceship. He chooses the bottom living quarter so he can have the bottom all-encompassing room to always be able to look out into outer space. Regardless of the bottom point of the heart being the most vulnerable part of the ship, he still commanded the remodeling agency to do it. Crisis will turn on a protective mirror and sleep in the zero gravity on a nightly basis without worry that the ship could become under attack. He will be harmed, but doesn't worry about it because he has auto-resurrection on deck for such occasions, and since the universe protects certain super beings, the cold atmosphere of outer space doesn't affect him. He is widely protected by the universe, but the universe won't protect him from other super beings. Now, they're spinning around a zero gravity thing. So, the heart is not like a human heart. It's like an emoji heart. And the whole spaceship is shaped like that, except for the ring with the outward protruding spikes. And he has the very bottom point of the spaceship as his home quarters. And he always sleeps in that room with the mirrors on so nobody can see through and x-ray through and shit like that. And he sleeps in zero gravity every night. And it's a beautiful thing. Now, his possessions. There was a time when he was simply on the beach, just chilling and enjoying the sun. He pulled up a lounge chair right where the current was moving up to the shore a few feet. After sunbathing for an hour, he got off to return the lounge chair where it was originally at. He stepped on a chain that got stuck between his toes. Before he stood up, he got the chain from between his toes. This chain was simply a skinny chain with a heart charm. It was all 100% gold and just happened to be right there at that second. He has the gold chain and heart hanging from the light above his dining room table at home. He has no pets. Now the abilities. Physical. First thing first, Crisis was given his code name because in a crisis he excels. From being able to heal all ailments to resurrection, most battlefield scenarios would welcome him with open arms. That was just the meat. The potatoes is being able to lift tons of weight as if he's a Titan's wielder. His blessing shortly after he was born made him into a Titan like that. He can lift that much while even flying as well, rendering his super strength to the beyond level. He is masterful with his muscles to the point he can rip through machines as if his skin was razor Vazorian. With that being said, he has bulletproof and reflective skin. Godless enchanted weaponry can change that though. Magical abilities. Healing. Unlike his projectile mastery, when healing other people or himself, the grace of it all appears in rays from above or rays from his hands. The healing rays last as far as a mile. Because of his power levels, he can also create his adjacent healing factor spirit and pure light that will perfectly heal or resurrect anyone within a 3-mile radius. He has been known to light an entire facility of a hospital or clinics before. During war times, a best example can be seen as him finally arriving to the battlefield and going to the medical areas first to get all of the soldiers on the brink of death or unable to participate back on their feet. Now, the healing factor. With life being his natural power, he heals at a times 10 rate compared to normal super beings. He usually doesn't have to focus on healing himself a lot, but if he really wants to heal, focusing turns times 10 to times 25. Adjacent healing factor. Because life is his natural superpower, the immediate range of his aura can be manipulated to extend, usually seen by a white globe-like appearance around him that's at a transparency rate of 5%. The red moon blessing makes his adjacent healing factor as strong as his own healing factor. Anyone within 50 feet of him heals at a times 10 rate compared to their normal rate. Yeah, overpowered, right? Fountain of Youth enchantment. Life is a superpower that offers up immortality naturally. It's all because every life wielder is connected directly to the master fountain of youth. He can also bless a pool of water with the fountain of youth to turn people back to younger versions of themselves. No matter who steps into the pool, what age they are thinking will be the age they end up as. Flight. All life wielders come with a levitation ability. They can be quickly trained into flight, to the flight ability. Resurrection. Crisis can resurrect any living creature. He has the pulse of life abilities that allow it. First, by cleaning up the blow that caused death and then reanimating the vessel with the pulse of life, then ultimately healing them so they can retreat or return to battle. Crisis needs to be within range of a mile of a vessel in order to do it perfectly. Furthermore, the effects would be slightly less to the point he can resurrect someone very far away on the ground while approaching them in preparation to heal them. Life drain. Crisis can drain the life force out of any living creature and convert it into life force for himself. Because the superpower is directly life, the conversion is at a 100% rate. Whatever amount he takes from something is exactly what he will get in return. Life ticket. So you remember what I said about Killer and her death ticket ability? Life wielders got the same thing. But it's completely different because when they come into their powers, they are visited by the angel of life. And if the angel of life is a female and death is a male, so with him being a male, he had to kiss the angel of life in order to get the life ticket ability. And you only have one time to make that choice. And the girls will get they will hug the angel of life, or they will not get the life ticket. And he made the right decision, so his immortality is never in question, and he has a lot of life tickets just like Killer. So killing him is going to be a very long process, but it can happen. Auto resurrection, same as his life ticket ability, but he can bless another vessel with auto resurrection. Is what he does when he knows that major missions are on their way. He likes to see innocents and heroes live their entire lifespan. Projectile mastery. Crisis can create decimating energy in the form of beams and orbs. They can be shot from every inch of his body. It's his preferred method. Generating projectiles from the entirety of his ether system helps him focus his powers in more precise ways. All of the decimating effects come from how powerful his life force is. Regardless of him being a healer, the same amount of force can be turned into protection. Now, in this sense, when he says, when I say he uses his entire ether system, he uses every inch of the ether system, from the part of it around the brain and cranium all the way to the soles of his feet. He always powers up and releases healing or decimating, protecting energy from all of the ether system at the same time. So if you were to see him in like in the older days when he was young and he was doing it like 25 range, you could see his entire body turn pink. And versus nowadays where you don't really see him turn color, but he still uses his entire vessel before throwing out a projectile or healing somebody, and that makes the healing more effective. Say like in Final Fantasy 7, when you would use Cure 3, if somebody's magic was 255, it would be 9,999. And that's basically what he does every time he heals or every time he throws out a decimating life beam. And then you have the Warpath Rage. This ability came to him when he was 26 and throwing knuckle sandwiches against Cameron. The both of them are blessed by the red moon of Edgemere. Because they were both administered a blessing as babies, they are connected whether they like it or not. They didn't know it when they were brawling that fateful day though. But the more they went on, the more mad they were getting at each other, provoking the blessing to act in a different way because they were both getting closer to being killed. Then it happened. Both of their eyes started glowing red, then they started emitting a red thick smoke as their power punches were creating shockwaves whenever they connected with each other. The Warpath Rages add tons of strength to Crisis' vessel, putting him in a berserker like can't verbally or physically communicate with anyone until it calms down. Transformations, none. His weaknesses, death powers being used against him will have him rendered defenseless and without offense, making Crisis rely on his brute strength tactics without his healing factor in play. His endurance returns to normal, keeping him from lifting up tons of weight as if he would pick up a piece of paper and it would disintegrate. So when I say that, it's like picking up a napkin and a napkin just straight up disintegrate. And you know how they had those movies back in the day where, you know, people would try to make robots and they try to make the robots pick up things without breaking them. It's that kind of situation. That's how powerful he is. But when death is used against him in a way of offense because he's a life wielder, it negates both him and the death wielder. Now, otherwise, and a major amount of anti-super being material will be needed to really slow him and his careful onslaughts down. So, that's everything about Crisis. And yes, he's overpowered. Like I said before, every character in the story is overpowered because they are the ones that's going to save mankind because the Crimson Collective chose them, aka Zovian. And excuse me, even though I was talking to Ricardo the other day about the amount of characters I have, like he likes to joke because he knows my whole creative process and how I believe that more is merrier. I was telling him that I want to make up at least one more character, and I haven't even officialized Zovian yet because he's nothing but a quantum machine. And like in the Travelers, that Netflix original show, they have a quantum machine, and that quantum machine is trying to make all of the travelers from the future go back in time and fix what made destroy the ozone layer on Earth. And that's what Zovian is, and I'm not going to give away too many secrets, but Zovian is going to be the final character of the story, and he's going to be he's going to have the image of the last surviving species that made him, but in reality he's still a machine. He's basically an android. But Crisis is indeed overpowered. He's like, well, no, he's not like Superman, because he don't have like them red eye beams or anything. And but he can fly, pick up tons of weight even while flying, and like launch that shit. And fighting against him, you know, other incredibly powerful super beings, they fight against Crisis too, and you know, he wins some, he loses some, and it's basically a tit for tat when it comes to fighting him, because it's like he'll be going through places and beating up people and all kind of thing, and then he'll get to this big strong man type dude, punch him in the head, the dude don't flinch, and then he put some more power in that punch, not not like before where he was just punching and simply knocking people out. He put that detrimental strength in that punch, and then next thing you know, that big strong man sitting on the floor. So it's he's extremely strong, and like I said before, he can pick up a napkin and it'll disintegrate. And if he has to punch somebody harder to knock them out and they don't know who he is, that's on them. They is going to be in the ICU in a coma for a very long time. And he will do that because he believes in protecting the innocence and making sure super beingness isn't seen all around the universe all crazy, like, because there are still humans that have not evolved into super beingness, even though it's year 8124. And Christ is just, he really believes that the innocent people should live up to their 100 years of life because of technology and vaccines and things like that prolonging human life. So all of the doctors that did the geneticist thing and cured all of the defects of the mortal kind to where all vessels live up to 100 years of life before they finally expire, whether it be cancer or just an organ finally running out of energy. And the reason why Christ is elevated so quickly throughout the ranks was because of his power and how he controlled it. And Purge, even though he has this secret of the red moon, he doesn't tell anybody about that. Not even his nigga Crunch. And the only people that know that are the scientists of Purge, and they have everybody's records and all of the information like that. But they don't go around telling anybody their business because, like Cameron did, he can go use his cyber superpower and go all up in anybody's business, even in like the U.S. Army military radio waves that can't be hacked. He can get into that and get all kind of information from radio channels and put everybody's business on blast. And the scientists, some of the things that they know about him, they will not put on record. And that red moon thing is one of them, because all 4 moons of Edgemere, they bless whoever they want to at any given time. But they can only do it while you're in Edgemere. They can't like go out of Edgemere and do it. Like Mitheta, when she blessed him with that life orb, he was in the real world. And because she had the life orb, the artifact, she was able to bless him with the red moon blessing. But the red moon couldn't do it itself because he was not in Edgemere at that time. And there's another situation with another character where the red moon is looking down on the planet because it's a specific time of the year and the moon appears to be a lot bigger than it is. So if the red moon sees mankind, he will make a decision whether or not to bless it or not, depending on where they are in the world. And it's a lot of things, but Christ took advantage of the red moon thing and worked on himself to be as powerful as possible because his parents were on space expeditions trying to figure out the next solar system that mankind can get into and manipulate the make of a planet so that they can habitate it and whatnot. So Christ grew up believing that his direction in life was for the betterment of mankind. And his power is so detrimental, and he has never been a bully or anything like that. So all of his logic with making decisions was the reason why he moved up so quickly in rank and Purge and became a 35-year-old man that runs an entire militia. He has all the power to be somebody who can go around destroying all societies and making everything into a blip of humanity. Because at this day and age, super beings are the world leaders. And, they get all kind of camera time before battlefield situations and after battlefield situations, like in Dalizzle's characterization sheet, how she had that situation with her most prized possession, and the little girl had a doll with phrases from famous superheroes, and her phrase with her two partners came up, and she was like, nah, because she forgot about their phrase, because they in front of cameras throughout their career and whatnot, and Christ is being in front of them cameras telling people to do the right thing, and you still had those people. You had that one thing about humanity, that bad thing about humanity, where people would choose hate over love, and they will go around and ruin things, even though most of it is a utopia. You still have some of those space colonies, especially ones in the unmanned galaxies that don't have a planet that humans can live on. Those space colonies are usually the blips of humanity. So when I was talking about the space highway and another one, people tend to stay on the space highway because if they leave the space highway, the galactic forces, they can only do so much away from them. And if they don't have one of the moon-sized battleships, they're not going to be out there trying to fight no damn space pirates, because some space pirates got tricks, and they have their own powerful sources of technology, and they have their own super beings. They can transcend reality and go out there in outer space and it below freezing temperature and use their superpowers all meteor like and destroy a huge ass moon-sized battleship by just badgering the force field until it's up, and then they just dismantle the whole battleship. It's a lot of things that can happen out there, but crisis be like, stay your ass on the highway. The only time you in somebody else's business is if you helping them out. Don't put your impertinent information on social media, telling people if they are super beings to train their superpowers away from those who are not super beings. Stay your ass out of certain galaxies. He just commanding people to be the best that they can be and to choose love over hate. And he does it in a very cool, gentlemanly way, positive way and whatnot. And because he had that logical thing about him, about never being a bully and whatnot, and his handsomeness factor and having superpower of life, when somebody died and they were making votes on who would be the next head, he was voted into the 25, and then the 25 made a vote on who should be running Purge. And in this day and age, one of the rules of superheroism is kill the greedy second, and it's always protect the innocent first, kill the greedy second. And everybody in Purge, the heads, they don't have a greedy bone in their body. They don't even have a greedy cell. And being a head, high payroll and everything, it's all excellent, but all of them are in Purge for the purity galore of it all. So everybody can live the life that they want, and they don't care about who is in charge. They just want the person calling the shots to be the most favorable person calling the shots. So that's why Crisis was created the way that he was created, and he became a 35-year-old who's in charge of a militia that was born in 3011. When he got into rank, he made Bazooka Flow a Hylian. Allura was already a Hylian because she was already a queen of a coven and a catalyst of Gaia, as well as a holder of the Tree of Life. And he also made Lollipop a Hylian. Omniverse was already a Hylian because he was out there with it teleporting 1,000,000 miles at a time power. Blur, he made Blur into a Hylian because Blur was on the ship of on that 3-day party on Cruncher's spaceship after he met him and shit like that. And him and Blur came in almost at the same time, and him and Blur are also from Earth Zero, so there's a whole lot of history with them. Even though they didn't really know each other at the time, but still somehow Crunch met Blur and Blur got invited to their party. But he made Blur into a Hylian as well. And And the other Purge agent, because there's 7 of them now, Diverick is 45 years old. He has more time on his brain with strategy when it comes to running Purge. But at the same time, he also voted for Crisis to be the leader of Purge. And all of them made the right vote. He got a whole 25 vote thing. And all of the generals and whatnot, they voted too, but he got all 24 votes from the heads of Purge, and he became the leader of Purge. I didn't really put that all in the characterization sheet. I probably should have did then, but I'm gonna go on about my life now because I need to get ready to go do some grocery shopping and stuff. But until the next time, keep it peaceful, and please do not add to the chaos of the world. We have enough of it. Us 99% need to stick together and make the world a better place. Can you do that? Thank you. Holla at you later.